Hey, wait, is this thing recording? Hello, movie lovers and all you others, and welcome to Lessons from the Video Store. Today we'll be exploring queer theory. I'm your host, Stephen Valerio, and I'll be helped out today by our friends Gene Kelly, Oscar Levant, and Georges Guettari, who starred in 1951's An American in Paris, directed by father of Liza Minnelli, Vincente Minnelli. I think to begin with, we need to look at what queer theory is as a refresher for those who don't remember and as a little information for those who never knew to begin with. Queer theory, of course, is a critical theory that looks at film through a queer lens. While this is usually done by looking for LGBTQ plus coding and interpretations, queer theory actually encompasses anything outside of a heteronormative and conventional outlook. It encompasses all sexualities and all genders. Queer theory was developed as an academic discipline in the 90s by Judith Butler and Eve Kosatsky Sedgwick, but they were building on the earlier work of philosopher Michel Foucault. Now, through the lens of queer theory, we can find codes and signs that challenge the conventional interpretations of a story to find a deeper and Foucault would say a more true meaning behind what we're seeing on the surface. An American in Paris may seem like a very conventional musical of the time, just a bunch of Gershwin songs that were already written, strung together on a flimsy plot line of a love triangle, a very standard cookie cutter story. But something that's important to remember about this is that Vincente Minnelli was a closeted gay man. While he had worked previously in the New York theater scene and worked on Broadway as a set designer and director, amongst other things, he was known as a flamboyant out gay man. He dressed as a dandy, wore makeup, and when he moved to Los Angeles, when he joined the Hollywood studio system, which is a much more conservative system, he went back into the closet, essentially began dressing more conservatively. He did continue wearing makeup until pressure was put on him by studio executives. He was confronted about the makeup and never wore it again. Went on, as I said, to father a child. He was the father of Liza Minnelli. Had a very unhappy marriage to Judy Garland. So knowing all this, being hidden in the closet, it was impossible for some of that to not seep through into his work. So thematically, we can see in our queer code an idea of performance, right? Because Minnelli was performatively masculine in his life within the Hollywood studio system. Gene Kelly also was very performatively masculine in his life. Now, while there were some rumors that he had an affair with Minnelli, none of that was ever proven. From everything I can find, it is most likely that Gene Kelly was 100% straight. However, being in dance, something that even when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, so even much more so in the 50s, dance was seen as something very girly and feminine and not something that a normal straight man would do. So Gene Kelly, both in his life and in this movie, is very aggressively, performatively masculine and straight. Even when dancing with children and singing with children, he does dances where he is a soldier or a cowboy or Charlie Chaplin, which may not seem particularly overtly, traditionally masculine. However, Charlie Chaplin was known to be a notorious lover of women at the time. So he is performing his masculinity, although Gene Kelly's character Jerry is, I do believe, 100% straight in the movie. It's still a performance of his masculinity to prove it. The same goes with our character, who I do believe actually is the gay coded character, who is Adam. He is a performer. He has a very deep voice. He is gruff. He is grumpy. He is, a grumpy old man, essentially, even though he's not all that old. So there is this performance there, very literally in the fact that he is a performer. And this actually seems like a very good time to dig a little deeper into Adam, because as I said, he is our queer coded character. And he is very clearly, madly in love with Jerry. And we do see this a lot, many, many examples throughout the entire movie. He lights up anytime that Jerry walks into a room. We see in the cafe, he tries to get close to Jerry as they're singing. He's always leaning into him. When Jerry is having troubles with Lisa, he is quick to put his arm around him and console him. He's always looking out to protect and take care of Jerry. That could be just the love of a mother, a motherly type of love, a brotherly type of love, or it could be romantic love. And I do believe it's romantic love. As I said, there are many, many examples throughout the movie. I'm going to focus on the three major ones. The first example would be the very first scene where Jerry and Adam are in their apartment together. And Adam is trying to write a song. He's being his usual grumpy self. Jerry comes in, clearly feeling very lovey-dovey, singing a happy song, humming a happy tune. And this does not rub Adam the right way. He grumps at him. But then as Jerry begins to sing, as Jerry begins to dance, Adam can't help but join in, can't help but to smile at the man that he loves. He begins to play the piano to Jerry singing and dancing. Jerry begins to dance and sing to what Adam is playing on the piano. It is a mutual emotional exchange. It's very intimate and very close, creating this song together out of nowhere, the spontaneous music. They are making beautiful music together. And as it goes on, the song crescendos. Jerry dances on the piano. Then he gets down and they are both playing the piano together in sync, in harmony, physically together. The music gets loud. Their faces contort. The tra-la-la-la-las become an ah, an oh face. And then they collapse. And as the scene fades into Henri proclaiming his love for Lisa in French, we do see in the background of that fade Jerry and Adam leaning in closely together, intimately together, as if for a kiss, although I don't believe they did kiss in that moment. However, the next scene is interesting because Henri I haven't talked much about. He's really more of a plot point than a character. I do think, though, that there is a bisexual, pansexual read on him, simply because of the very intimate seeming relationship that he and Oscar, who were former partners, professional partners, have, the way they seem to know each other so well, and the way that in this next scene, this fade scene, Adam calls Henri just like a drunk text, someone drunk texting their ex after being spurned in the moment and being down and having a moment of weakness. And Henri reacts like a lover receiving a drunk text. Oh, you're so silly. We'll talk later at the cafe. The second scene I'd like to talk about, the second example, is the second apartment scene where Jerry and Adam are alone together in the apartment. In this scene, it's much shorter, but I think it's very interesting. They have a bit of an interaction. Adam is seeming very jealous and takes a little dig at Jerry that seems to actually hurt him when he asks, who's taking whose last name. That seems to very much upset Jerry. It impugns on his masculinity, again, performing that masculinity. And Adam realizes that he's gone too far, and he looks totally dejected, lays down in his bed, and has a fantasy where he is frantically and emotionally playing the piano, conducting an entire orchestra of himself. He is playing with himself. It builds to a loud, euphoric crescendo. Everyone applauds. An entire audience of Adams applaud. And we fade back to him alone in his bed, smoking a cigarette. Gets up and has a drink. connect the dots. I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. You can connect the dots about what somebody does that has an applaud-worthy crescendo while alone in bed that requires a cigarette afterward. The third and final example that I would like to look at is, of course, the art student's ball. Now, there's really only a brief scene with Adam himself as an example here. This is his interaction with Milo, where he is very much acting the protective mother hen, like an ex-lover who has remained friends but wants to make sure that that their lover's heart is not broken the way that they had broken their lover's heart in the past. That's the feeling I get, although I don't think that they've had a relationship or that anyone's heart's been broken other than Adam's. But there is this definite telling off of Milo, unafraid and unabashed, protecting Jerry. But the ball itself is a queer ball. It is outside of normal society. It is very modern. It is very forward. It is very free. Everyone is outside the usual confines. You can see in the background pairings of men and men, men and women, women and men, multiple partners, thruples, quadruples. You see it all. In fact, in one shot, we actually see what is most likely an openly gay couple come down the stairs holding hands. Two men holding hands, one shirtless, very much together and very much open. Unfortunately, this is where Adam's queer story ends. All that we're left with is Jerry leaving with Lisi and Henri, our plot point, letting her go. Adam's story is left unended and unanswered, and ultimately unfulfilling and unsatisfied, much like the lives of many queer men back in the 50s, perhaps like the life of Vincente Minnelli, who again was forced to marry women, forced to live a lie, forced to perform heterosexuality. And I think that also is very, very telling. I think it's an interesting symbol, one that you don't see often, because mostly movies like to kill their gays, essentially. But that is a topic for another video. So I hope you will join us again here in the video store for another lesson. I hope you've learned something today, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Have a wonderful, wonderful